Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film Room Podcast. This is episode 36, as Joby has informed me 2 seconds ago. I'm your host, Joe Baress, and as I said, my co-host, Joby Fawcett, is once again back for the 36th straight week. Joby, how's it going?
It's going quite well, Joe. I hope everyone had a very blessed Easter yesterday. And, of course, the big news of the day is the passing of the Pope.
Yep.
And so certainly prayers and condolences go out to the Catholic community as they mourn the death of the pontiff.
Absolutely. And we'll get to another, I'm sure we'll talk about later. We had a local death in Bob Simons.
Yes.
Just an area, a fixture in the community. We'll talk about that a little later as well. But first, we are once again joined by our Athlete of the Week, Mid-Valley Track and Field athlete, Natalie Talluto. Natalie, how are we doing?
I'm doing real great. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. What Natalie did last week, honestly, in a matter of a few days, first at the Walter Godek Twilight Invitational on Thursday, she had victories in the 100-meter hurdles, the 300 hurdles, and the 100, while also getting bronze in the 200. And she also, 2 days later, she set school records in the 100-meter hurdles and the 100-meter dash at the Jack Roddick Invitational on Saturday. Natalie, I read those off and it's just extremely impressive. But, what did you think of your performance last week in those two invitationals?
I was really happy with it overall. I'm just really excited for the season to really kick off with all this, competition around. I'm really excited to see what I can do, at leagues, districts, make it to states. I was really happy to finally be with some really good competition.
Natalie, so your ascension to where you are right now has come pretty quickly there at Mid-Valley, but tell everybody how you kind of got started in track and field, and I know you have a little bit of a familial tie to running the hurdle, so why don't you tell everybody about that, your mom being a great hurdler in her own right?
Yeah, well, I actually started track and field in 8th grade. Before that, I always played softball, and I guess my teammates and coaches always told me how fast I was. I was always the fastest kid on the team, getting the most runs in. So then 8th grade, I was just convinced by my mom to try track. She mentioned, maybe you can hurdle, just like me. And I joined, and honestly, best decision yet of my life. It's the community was so great. I entered the community and felt so welcomed, so involved. Just the coaches, the coaching staff, they're just all so including and inviting, and it's just been a really great time. And so I started off just as a sprinter, junior high. In 8th grade, I noticed I was kind of, I don't want to toot my own horn, but just beating everyone in junior high, I don't think I lost once in junior high. So 9th grade, got moved up to varsity. I think that was a great decision by my coaches. It really got me where I am today. I think being a freshman on varsity was really beneficial, running with the older kids and everything, and seeing how varsity would work. And then in 9th grade, my coach, Coach Kaz, told me, you know what, Nat, you're going to try the hurdles. He saw my physique and my speed, and try it out. And at first, I won't lie, I was a little pouty because I loved my sprints. But it really, as you can see now, worked out real well.
Joe, I want to tell you that keeping with our theme here this year in the year 2024/25 school year, so Natalie's mom was a track and field athlete when I was in high school.
Wow.
So while normally I bring up the fact that I know our Athlete of the Week's parents, or had played against them, I didn't get a chance to run against her because, of course, I ran on the boys' team and she ran on the girls' team. But she happened to run the 100-meter hurdles, and I ran the 110-meter hurdles. That's how I knew of her. But I did not know who she was. But as fate would have it, I work out occasionally at a gym in Peckville, and Natalie's brother also works out there at the same time, him being a former basketball star at Mid-Valley, and he happened to mention his mom's name, and I said, wait a minute, I know her, and I mentioned it to Natalie as well, right, Nat?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool. Now, what does your mom remember about those days? But she was a pretty good hurler. She was fast. Not as fast as you, though. I went back and looked.
Oh, really? Did you get her times?
I told you I was going to look.
And what'd you find out?
Well, you're a little bit faster. She's going to listen to this, so I have to be very careful.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but no, does she remember? I mean, she was very good, by the way, Natalie.
Yeah, she's told me how much she was involved with it and how much I mentor her. She really loved hurling.
She was the conference champion my senior year in the 100-meter hurdles. Yep.
Wow. So, all right, Natalie. So you mentioned it a little bit, and I saw in your Athlete of the Week interview as well that you're kind of honored to be, have your name, etched among the top, track and field athletes at this point as far as setting school records. I mean, what is the best? What's the best part of competing at Mid-Valley? Like, what makes it so great for you?
Competing in Mid-Valley, I really feel like I feel valued, I feel like everyone in the community, every coach, no matter what sport it is, I'm walking down the hallways at school and everyone's congratulating me, like last year for going to states. And I feel like we have a really tight-knit community where even online I ran at Jack Roddick the other day, and minutes later I see on like the Mid-Valley account, Natalie broke these school records. And I just really appreciate that support, because people don't realize how much it really means to just be noticed with something I'm so passionate about. I feel like everyone at Mid-Valley just really cheers each other on and just is there for each other. I feel close to the community.
It's a passionate community. Sorry to cut you off, Joby.
No, go ahead.
It is, Natalie, you're so right about, sharing things on social media. I remember during the wrestling season, I cover wrestling, and obviously the Almadina brothers are just great wrestlers in the area. And, as Matt got his like 100th win, and it was up immediately, and coach, Dennis Rishnak texted me immediately. It was just like, you're absolutely right. You could see it. It's just like the community really, really cares about you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Joe, Natalie, you also ran a dual meet last week too, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you were really busy, and so you ran the dual meet. You helped Mid-Valley to a win there, undefeated Mid-Valley, by the way, in Lackawanna Track Conference Division III. And then you ran the Walter Godick, and you and I got a chance to chat a little bit. And then you went on to the Jack Roddick on Saturday. But at the Walter Godick, let's focus in on that, because that was really, I think, the first true invitational you have participated in this year. And you mentioned it that, having that kind of competition really helps bring out the best in you as an athlete. But first, the 100-meter hurdles, you won that race out of lane 1. Do you know how difficult that is to do?
Yeah, lane 1 is rough.
So tell me about the race. I mean, how did you keep everybody in sight? Because that's a very challenging lane.
Yeah. So I was the 6th heat, so I had some time to prepare my mind. And honestly, with meets like this kind of competition, I just really need that confidence. And I'll be honest, once I get my head in the right state of mind, and I tell myself I'm going to win, I know I'm going to win. I look around at everyone and I tell myself, like, I'm seriously going to beat all these people. If I just don't pay attention to anyone around me and just look straight down the track, I really have to get myself in that right mindset before I get on the track, or else, this is a good example. Like last year I was at the Jack Roddick Invitational, and it wasn't a good day for me. I think I was just all over the place. Head wasn't on straight. I was like the only one from my team down there. And then this year, a complete turnaround. I had that good confidence this year, I feel like. So yeah, at Twilights, I just had the good mentality all day. And my events were spread out, so I had to keep that same mindset the whole way through. But just the confidence and staying warmed up the whole time, that's what really helped me.
Now, you say spread out, but you had to go to back-to-back events. Now, Joe, you're not familiar with this, but Natalie won the 100 out of a different heat, because they don't run trials and finals at the Twilight Invitational. So she won and kind of had to hang out in the infield and wait till all the other heats the two other heats came through, and then she found out she also won the 100-meter dash. So that was a great day. So tell me about, Natalie, the being in that setting, and then you had a very close race in the 300-meter hurdles, and you really had a great finish.
Oh yeah.
What was that like for you?
It was exhilarating. I started off again, just had to have that confidence getting out of the blocks for the 300 hurdles. And the first, I'd say 100 meters, I don't think I was pushing it as much as I could have. But then right when I was going around the curve and I realized I have to just sprint these last 150 meters to really just stay in. And the hurdles, it's difficult to stay balanced while you're sprinting through them. So I kind of had to just keep my body straight down the track. And when it got to those last two hurdles, the girl I was up against, she really pushed me. I appreciated that. I kind of just said in my head, like, how bad do you want that prize? And I just strived for it.
Absolutely. So Joby, what you're telling me, everything that I read about Natalie as to why she got Athlete of the Week, she actually did more last week than that?
That's correct, Joe. She had really one of the more busy weeks for any track and field athlete in the area because she did all three meets. And really because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Natalie, that your dual meet was Wednesday. It was late. Then you did Thursday, and then you ran again on Saturday, right?
Yep.
Oh my God. All right. Well,
Yeah.
we definitely made the right choice then. Okay.
Yeah. It was nice of her to be able to squeeze us in today.
Seriously. So I want to talk a little bit about that, Natalie. You just touched on it. It just racing on Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and you talk about kind of you have to be in the right mindset. And it seems you really have a really good routine and everything. Tell me about, how important the mental game is in track and field and kind of your process.
Oh, yeah. The mental aspect of my sport is majority of it. It's probably 80% mental, 20%, physical ability. And I know that from experience. I've had all different kinds of mindsets through the seasons, and I really noticed this season I'm in the best headspace for sure. I just clear everything out of my mind once I walk onto the track and know that, especially with preseason training, I put a lot of work into it before the season. And I just had to make sure all of that work was valued and that it paid off by just knowing, all right, I put all this work and time into it. This is what I'm passionate about. I don't care what I'm distracted about outside of the track, but when I step on, I'm in full focus mode. And I've seriously noticed that this season.
So, Natalie, your success in the 100-meter hurdle, the 100-meter hurdles and the 300 hurdles are two totally different events, whether people believe that or not just because of the distance. When you finally learned how to three-step the full flight of hurdles in the 100-meter hurdles, what was that like for you? Because that really is that's the number. You want to be able to do all 10 hurdles in those three steps to get a really good time. I'm sure you saw huge amounts of time come off your final time.
Oh yeah, 100%. I remember the moment last year actually I was against Lakeland, and that's when I broke the school records and when I first three-stepped all the way down the track. And it was just so relieving because I knew I had the speed and I knew I had, halfway the form. And I just knew that four step was messing up my center mass and everything. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get where I wanted to without the three steps. That's crucial in hurdling.
Natalie, one of the athletes you said you admire is Tatum Norris, obviously for obvious reasons. It was funny back when, she was in high school. I remember Joby was, Joby, you were obviously already covering and I was probably sleeping, but yeah, no, I woke up and I read your tweet or whatever. It's just like, Tatum Norris wins this, and the team title at States. And I was just like, what? But so tell me, I mean, obviously all that, but what do you admire about Tatum Norris?
I just admire that she always seems to keep a positive mindset going into it. I think that really inspired me and I also noticed that I would have meets against her when she was in high school at the same time as I. And it just seemed like she was even though she was put on a pedestal and she was the greatest athlete in our area for a few years, she just talked to everyone the same. Like, she talked to newer kids like she was, it's almost like she was on their college team. Like, she just brought everyone up and she encouraged everyone. She was just a real team player, and she actually cared about everyone's success.
So, Natalie, tell me about being at the Jack Roddick. You mentioned that you had some difficulty there last year. You did get a chance to go to states last year in late May. I know it's a great stadium. Now, the crowd isn't necessarily the same for that meet as it is for the state meet, but how much does that help you now, having gone back to Shippensburg University and Seth Grove Stadium, have a good experience and kind of keep building that momentum you're going to need later on this year?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a big help to be at the stadium you're going to be running the most important meet at in the year, beforehand. And I was also at Shippensburg for summer camp 2 years ago, so that helped also. I'm really familiar with the campus now, which is really beneficial. I think now, going back to Jack Roddick Invitational and actually coming out doing really well, it just helped me realize exactly what I don't need to do before a race, just being stressed out over everything and just thinking too much, not eating the right foods, not sleeping enough. And I feel like now I'm just a lot more easygoing with it because I know I have what I need to succeed. And I just gotta, do what I love, have more fun with it this year.
Joe, do you see it's not just about running fast in track? There's a lot more to it.
Oh, yeah, you're not kidding. Well, there's a reason I didn't compete, Joby. There's a reason I threw instead.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I understand, Joe.
But I actually want to talk about a little bit about too is, Natalie, you're in soccer and tennis. Do you do anything in the winter, or do you do indoor track?
I like to, in the winter. I mean, I work out all year round, whatever sport it is, even if it's for fun. I'm always staying active. But yeah, I do like to do indoor track. I didn't do as much as I wanted to this winter, mostly because CSU, Clark Summit University, shut down and we weren't able to use the track anymore. And those Clark Summit meets were really beneficial. They brought some really good competition to the area. And I guess I just didn't get out of the area to go to New York, New Jersey, wherever the other nearest big events were going on indoor. So I didn't get as much indoor work as I wanted to before the season. Hopefully this upcoming winter I'll be able to do that, though. Travel a little bit more.
Now, Natalie, your brother Vinny, who I work out with, I don't work out with him. He's much stronger than I am. But he was a basketball player, right? And don't you have another brother who was a tennis player?
Yeah, Christopher, I
think I spoke with him also. I'm familiar with his work. So do you ever play tennis against him?
Actually, no. I think I've only played against Chris once, which is, I mean,
how was your tennis game?
Huh?
How's your tennis game?
Not bad. I played, I do it more for fun. I did it 8th grade year, and then just last season, instead of soccer, I'll just try this. And it was really fun. The community was great. And I actually grew a love for tennis. I think it's one of those kind of sports that's a good thing to be involved with because it's one of those sports you can play no matter what age you are, So, yeah, my tennis game is pretty good, I'd say, though.
Absolutely. I'm sure it's better than mine. So one thing I found kind of interesting, this will be the last thing for me about your Athlete of the Week interview. Your favorite musical artist, you have Al Green. And also some other people that, we always ask 3 people you'd like to have dinner with. You include Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald. I'm just curious, where does that musical taste kind of come from?
I mean, I've liked all genres and all decades of music my whole life. And I guess that's originally sprouted from my dad. He really likes 70s classic rock, and he kind of introduced me to like older music when I was younger, just being in the car, like outside in the backyard at a fire with the speaker. And I've just always really had a passion for music. And I guess I just like sprout out of my comfort zone and, explore all kinds of music on my own. And I've just grown a love for a lot of just like older, just passionate music.
That's so cool. Nat, listen, before I let you go, I have to ask this because I think it's been a big boost to your track career and really the performances of all the athletes at Mid-Valley. But in addition to the great coaching you're getting there with that program, but how awesome is it to compete at that new facility at Mid-Valley? I mean, athletic director Tom Nowakowski and all his fundraising efforts in the school district and all the fun. That is an awesome facility.
Oh yeah, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that ability to just have that new facility while I'm still in high school. That one year when it was getting rebuilt, we had to run around like the parking lot as a track, and we had to travel to Valley View and Dunmore to practice at. But it was really worth it. I really appreciate it. It's a really nice facility. I'm glad they're doing that.
All right, Joby, you got anything else for Natalie?
No, once again, congratulations, Natalie. You know, I enjoy watching track and field, especially the hurdle events, because I did run them. I try to convince people I used to be an athlete, but Joe, they don't believe me. But truthfully, Natalie, again, awesome job last week. I don't know how you pulled it off in doing all of those high intensity competitions so close to each other, but great job. Great job on the school records, and we wish you the best of luck as you continue your pursuit here and you head toward the postseason.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Natalie. We appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. That was Natalie Talluto of Mid-Valley Track and Field, our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week, brought to you, as always, by the Lehigh Valley Orthopedic Institute. Joby, I mean, I'm glad that you stepped up there in the interviews to kind of tell people, because obviously you're a track guy. You've done literally the events that Natalie has done. I was just happy that you were able to, talk to her and convey, like, this isn't easy. Not that people think it's easy, but this was an incredible feat this week by Natalie.
Yes, Joe, and you're right. And here's the thing. What Natalie and I share a little bit in common is I also ran the 100. Okay, so in today's track and field world, things have changed in the order of events. Back when I ran in high school, I would do the 110-meter hurdles, and then the 2-mile relay would run, and then I would run the 100. So I would get a little bit of a recovery time. We go back to that great story I had about states where I had to run those two events back to back, which was extremely difficult. She, in a similar way, is doing that in dual meets, and she's also trying to do this at the invitationals. But there may be some heats in between her running, but there's no event running in between her running. So her accomplishments is certainly in those two races that are held back to back are outstanding. But she is just a terrific all-around athlete, Joe. She has the stamina carrying her in the 300-meter hurdles, where she's been awesome, and she already has the school record. And she's also been running the 200 as well as a sprinter. So she has really had a great week and a half here, but she's really had a great career as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be excited to see what she's able to do the rest of the way, because obviously she's got, she's got a great mindset. She just seems to have everything that you need to be a great track and field athlete. And I think she's only a junior, right, Joby?
That's correct, Joe, which really, I always try to tell these track kids, you still have to be in the moment.
Yep.
But the sky's the limit for her, really, because, Joe, I just really think she's just scratching the surface in the hurdle event, really, because as she mentioned, it wasn't until late last year when she finally achieved that 3-step in between the barriers. And, Joe, once you do that as an athlete, now you can kind of just work on your speed and improving that. And because that's a big confidence barrier that you clear by getting that 3-step technique down. And she's done that now. And she's kind of put herself in that elite class of hurdlers in the Lackawanna Track Conference, not just this year, but historically as well. So, yeah, it's going to be real fun to see where she ends up. And, Joe, listen, she was one of the shining stars, probably obviously the brightest of what was a great week in track and field this week.
Yeah, Joby, I'll throw it to you in a second, but one of the people that we were also considering for Athlete of the Week is Kate Cordy. And she set 2 meet records, set a meet record with a time of 58.03 seconds to capture the 400 meter title. She beat the mark set by North Pocono's Caitlin Kravitz last season, and she actually beat Caitlin Kravitz in the race on Thursday at the Walter Godek Twilight Invitational in setting the meet record. She also had a meet record in the 800 with a time of 2 minutes, 18.02 seconds, beating Wallen Popek's Mackenzie Turner's mark of 222.11 that she set back in 2018. Joby, it ended up being a very busy week in track and field. I didn't even know there was going to be a lot of Saturday action, and there was. If you want to break it kind of break down, highlight some things for us.
I guess I can, Joe, if you really need me to do that, because it was busy. And that is tradition. Usually the Jack Roddick is run the Saturday before Easter, and it's down at Shippensburg University. But just going back to Kate Cordy quickly, Joe, many of our listeners may not be as familiar with her accomplishments. She was our female track and field athlete of the year last year. And look, she is a tremendous athlete. I mean, she combines speed, power, and endurance like very few athletes I've seen from our area in a long time. Now, she won 2 state medals last year in the 4 and the 8, and I'd be hard pressed unless something crazy were to happen. And again, we still have to run the races. We have a lot of postseason ahead of us, but she's ranked as one of the top 5 in both events this year in the state at PAMilesplit.com. So she had a great performance, and now with those 2 records, she owns the records at the Walter Godek Twilight Invitational in the 4, the 8, and the mile. So that gives you kind of an idea of how talented she is.
Wow. Yeah.
How complete a runner she is.
Right.
Okay. Just real quickly, Joe, with that Walter Godek Twilight Invitational, I'm just kind of screaming off the top of my head instead of doing the proper thing by reading notes. We had a lot of outstanding performances from both conferences. So I just want to say that everybody despite it wasn't overly cold, it was very windy, but we had some really great performances. And I think that's going to bode well for us as we move forward toward the conference meet and the District 2 championships. If the weather improves, and I know I sound like a broken record with this weather, but it is frustrating for spring sports athletes who have to kind of combat that. I mean, let's just take this weekend, for example, Joe. I think it was 75 or 80 degrees on Saturday, but it was windy.
Right.
And then, of course, now the next 2 days, it's been cloudy and overcast, and it's just hard to train and get yourself excited for the season when you're constantly worried about what the weather's going to be like. That being said, just great performances. And I do want to point out, going back to the Jack Roddick, Joe, the Wilkes-Barre area sprinters, okay, Timothy Leonard and Timon Creech. Joe, these kids can really move in the sprints.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Coach Paul McGrain from Wilkes-Barre area, he was an assistant coach at Wilkes-Barre Myers when I was in high school. Of course, Wilkes-Barre Myers of Rocket and Kadri Ismail fame. He is a genius when it comes to coaching the sprints and the relays. And he's doing a great job there with Wilkes-Barre area as well. So really quickly, Joe, the team champions from the Walter Godek, I know I'm bouncing back and forth, but the team championships, very impressive performance by Crestwood in the girls' meet at the Walter Godek Twilight Invitational, and in the boys' meet, the Dunmore Bucks. First team championship for Dunmore boys in track and field since 2011. Great performance by them. They had a couple of individual champions. Cole Fangio won the 2 hurdle events, the 110 meter and the 300 meter hurdles. We had Tommy Clark, who's going to Lafayette, by the way, play soccer. He won the 400. Carter Slode from Dunmore won the high jump. And then Tommy Clark, Cole Fangio, Gabe Franek, and Ryan Mecca combined to set a meet record in the 1,600 meter relay to help cap Dunmore's team championship. So just great performances across the board at the Walter Godek Invitation. And Joe, it's going to be a real busy time for me after this week moving forward as we get closer. We get Jordan relays, we get the Spagna championships. We're going to try to squeeze in, believe it or not, the Wallenpaupack Icebreaker relays is going to be held as a last chance meet. Wow. And then we're going to have the District 2 championships, which are held over the course of 2 days. So it's going to get quite busy here for me in the sport of track and field, Joe, but the kids are making it very well worth the while. They're up. And we've got great dual meets ahead too, Joe.
Yeah.
To decide team championships. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fun couple of weeks here. Certainly a very good 5 to 6 week period for us.
Absolutely, Joby. Absolutely. So we did have some other, obviously more than this, but just want to highlight a few performances, and we'll talk a little bit about some baseball, softball, like, cause as you said, Joby, the track and field postseason's fastly approaching, and so is baseball, softball. Well, everything, every sport. It's coming quick. But Valley View softball had a really nice week for itself, beating Valley. They didn't beat themselves. Wallapapack, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson won the 5A title last year, and Valley View beat them 14-3. And they had an 8-2 win over Wallapapack and a 15-0 win over West Scranton. So you could kind of see that Valley View softball team kind of kicking it into gear at this point in the season. Two of the people I'd like to highlight are Taylor Cawley. She pitched a 3-inning perfect game with 7 strikeouts in the 15-0 win over West Scranton. She also had 2 home runs, including a grand slam, 5 RBIs, and 2 runs in that game. She also went 2 for 4 with a run and pitched 3 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts, allowing 2 hits and a walk in that 8-2 win over Wallapapack. She also went 4 for 4, including a home run and 4 RBIs in the 14-3 win over Thomas Jefferson. Also, Abby Call, she went 4 for 4 with 2 home runs and a double and 4 RBIs. She was also the winning pitcher with 9 strikeouts, including the 200th of her career, allowing 2 earned runs, 2 hits, and 3 walks in the 14-3 win over Thomas Jefferson. She had 2 hits, including a solo homer, and 3 runs in the 15-0 win over West Scranton. She also added 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, and earned the win, striking out 7 while allowing 2 runs and 4 walks in the 8-2 win over Wallapapack. Abington Heights, Lauren Stalika, she pitched a complete game 1-hitter, allowing no runs and 1 walk while striking out 16 in a 4-0 win over Wallapapack. She also went 1 for 3 with a double in a 16-0 win over Delaware Valley in 3 innings. Stalika combined on a no-hitter with Adriana Condrad. She pitched 2 of those innings, striking out 6 and walking 1. And in a 14-7 win over Freedom, Stalika went 3 for 5 with an RBI and was the winning pitcher in that game. Joby, we've got some pretty interesting softball matchups coming up this week. A couple I want to highlight is tomorrow. We are recording this on Monday, and so Tuesday, the game, I don't know how the weather, I think the weather's supposed to be okay this week, but who knows. But as of right now, North Pocono and Abington Heights are going to play softball on Tuesday. That's obviously a big matchup. 2 Class 5A schools, 2 very good teams in the area. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. North Pocono is 9-1. Abington Heights is 6-1. We also have North Pocono plays Valley View. I believe that is on Thursday is what it's scheduled for. And that is a rematch that North Pocono won the first game against Valley View, I believe 7-6. We had Paige Dimmick on as an athlete of the week as part of that week. And so that'll be an interesting rematch there, again, between 2 very, very good teams in the area. So there's your softball. There's a little bit of a softball breakdown. Actually, I do want to go. Let me continue with softball a little bit. Just looking at the classifications, like I said, the postseason is upcoming. In Class 4A, sticking with Valley View, the other Class 4A team that has been excellent this year and had a really big win over Mid Valley on Saturday. Actually, a 1-0 win was Tunkhannock. Mackenzie Hannon just had a great pitching performance for Tunkhannock. We never like to look ahead, Joby, look too far ahead, Joby, but those are two obviously excellent area teams. And I believe you got to win the district title to move on, Joby. It's not two teams. So Valley View, Tunkhannock, both playing great as the season starts to move toward, ramping up for the postseason these next few weeks. As I mentioned, North Pocono, Abington Heights on top of Class 5A. Mid Valley is on top of Class 3A with Lake Lehman behind them at 2. Lake Lehman's 8-1, Mid Valley's 11-1. So those are obviously two very quality teams as well. In Class 2A, Holy Redeemer and Dunmore. Holy Redeemer is going to be very, very tough to beat in 2A. Also in 1A, Holy Cross with an 8-1 record. Another it's going to be tough to beat them when looking ahead toward, postseason play. But that's where some of the races stand as far as when it comes to District 2 there. We have a few, moving on to baseball.
So if I could, real quick.
No, please, just so I could get a drink or something.
Yes. Not only that, but I wanted to mention, you're right. That you hit the nail right on the head when you talk about Tunkhannock and Valley View. You talk about Abington Heights and North Pocono. You talk about Mid Valley and Lake Lehman. There's only going to be one team from those classifications that moves on to the state tournament, and you could argue that those second place teams that are in the power rating standings right now would be leading contenders for the state title.
Absolutely.
If they were able to qualify. I mean, that's how good softball is here in our area. And I also wanted to mention that, you ran down that list of outstanding performances that we had last week in softball. And it's just, I think it just speaks volumes to, unfortunately for them, the area spring sports performances this week were just so off the charts. Any one of those kids could have been our athlete of the week.
Right.
And again, Natalie Talluto from Mid Valley had what we felt on our staff is the best overall performance for the week. But these kids in softball are just really tremendous athletes. We want to look at Valley View, Joe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they have 4 NCAA Division I.
That's correct.
In their starting lineup, is it 4 or 5?
It's at least 4. It's definitely 4.
So that's just incredible. We know the remarkable success that Mid Valley has had over the last couple of years, including its state championship victory a couple of years ago with Miranda Runco. Yep. And Joe, what a week for Mid Valley softball. Earlier last week, since our last episode, Mid Valley had a big matchup against Holy Cross, which again, I'm stunned that Holy Cross is in Class 1A. And
right.
I'm telling you, you're going to be very hard pressed to find a Class 1A team that's going to be able to handle Holy Cross in girls softball. But in that game, Mid Valley picked up the win, and then of course later in the week challenged itself again by playing Tunkhannock really tough in that matchup. I believe that game was Saturday.
Yes.
But one person who we didn't mention through that recap, Joe, Mia Galella hit a softball against Mid Valley. I don't think it came down yet. Anybody who's seen the video online or in social media on X, of course, Mia Galella is one of the more respected power hitters in the Lackawanna League in District 2 and in the state.
Absolutely.
She's going to Boston College. What a great story there, Joe. Of course, if you don't remember, she had to have Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
She missed the tail end of her season last year. And what a great recovery she's had from that. And I'm telling you, Joe, she hit that ball. I don't usually I don't follow softball enough, to fully appreciate how great these kids are at this sport. But I'm telling you, she hit the ball. It was Aaron Judge-like. That Tommy Fox described it. He said she hit the ball the way to Oliphant. I mean, you know where that stadium is located up there on the mountain in Troop there.
Yep.
And it was quite a bomb. But yeah, great job by the softball kids. And again, Joe, Tommy Fox doing a great job keeping everybody up to date. He's going out to see a lot of the top teams play. He knows what he's looking at. He's been very familiar with this stuff. And I think he's going to have a very long season deep into June.
No, you're not kidding. You're not kidding. It was just like, you mentioned, how difficult it is. And I'm not asking for pity. Picking an athlete of the week isn't, it's not a life and death situation, but there have been so many great performances in the spring that it is very hard to, come up with a top candidate. But like you had mentioned, Joby, you mentioned Mia Galella, and that Holy Cross team, like you mentioned, you got Ava Schmidt, who's a great pitcher and hitter. Jules Galella. I mean, their team is so deep. And like you said, at Valley View, you've got Taylor Cawley, Abby Call, Kaylee Karwowski, and Krapovitz. I'm so sorry that I can't remember her name, but yes, for Division I kids, just the depth of these teams is absolutely incredible. This is going to be a long season for Tom Fox and Scott Walsh. So
yeah, they'll be doubling up on that detail.
Exactly. So we're talking, and moving on to baseball. A couple of the area stars had very nice weeks. Nick Mills of Mid Valley went 3 for 3 with 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, and 3 runs, and earned the win, pitching 4 innings and striking out 4 while allowing 5 hits and 1 earned run in an 11-1 5-inning win over Holy Cross. Also went 1 for 1 with a double, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs in Mid Valley's 12-6 win over Riverside. Nick Bradley of Abington Heights, he tossed a 3-hit shutout in 6 innings, striking out 10 with no walks. He also had a hit and an RBI in a 10-0 win over Delaware Valley. He went 2 for 4 with a double and 2 runs in an 11-8 loss to Stroudsburg. He also went 1 for 2 with an RBI and 3 runs in a 14-4 win over Wallenpaupack. West Scranton West Scranton baseball ended up having a nice week for itself, and Caden Berardi went 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs and earned the win, allowing a run, 4 hits, and 1 walk while striking out 2 and 3 2/3 innings of relief in a 10-9 win over Scranton Prep in 8 innings. He also went 3 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs in a 13-10 win over Pocono Mountain West. Jason Salemba, also of West Scranton, pitched a complete game, allowing 4 hits, 1 run, and 1 walk while striking out 4 to lead the way in that 5-1 Valley View win. In the 13-10 win over Pocono Mountain West, he went 3 for 4 with a double, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs, and he went 2 for 4 with 2 runs in a 10-9 win over Scranton Prep. So those are the top performances from baseball. Also, I'd like to mention that Abington Heights and North Pocono, the top teams in two of the top teams in that Class 5A for the district. Abington Heights is 9-2, North Pocono is 8-3. They have a matchup on Tuesday as well, just like the softball team. So that's going to be one to look forward to, see how that shakes out there for the baseball. Quick look at the power rankings here for baseball. Pittston area is actually on top of Class 5A. They're 11-0, led by their star pitcher Elijah Barr. So Class 5A is pretty stacked. Mid Valley tops Class 4A. They are 9-2. Holy Redeemer is on top of Class 2A, and Elk Lake is behind at 9-1, and Old Forge is 8-3. Elk Lake has been playing really, really well. They have a win over Mid Valley this year, and they've been playing great. In Class 3A, the top 2 teams are Dunmore and Riverside. Dunmore at 9-2, Riverside at 6-3. Hazleton tops 6A, and MMI Prep tops 1A. So again, we're getting to it. Once we reach May, it's home stretch, Joby.
Yeah, Joe. So you just looking at it quickly with the baseball. I think they're about halfway through their season.
Yep.
Track is 3/4 of the way through. Tennis is almost finished. Boys volleyball has 1 week left. But getting back to the baseball, Joe, I look at the baseball and I just listening to you rattle off some stuff there. What a great sports season that is being had at Elk Lake.
Yeah.
We're just coming off a basketball season where they won the boys and girls Division III championships, right?
Yep.
We had the girls swim team win the Lackawanna League championship. Again, there's no divisions there. It's just whatever classification you're in. And Elk Lake girls won that title, finished undefeated in the regular season. Now they're coming into the spring sports season. We know how in track and field they're having a great season, the boys and the girls track and field, and led by, of course, Kendall Jones, who was our male track and field athlete of the year last year. And the girls are coming off a pretty good performance, especially in the throwing events at the recent Walter Godek Twilight Invitational. So great job by the athletes up there at Elk Lake. And also, Joe, we expect that kind of stuff. We're kind of used to the Abington Heights sports programs across the board being successful. But it's nice to see a school like Elk Lake having that kind of, broad success across all of its sports teams here. And, we had Natalie Talluto. We talked to her about the community, the support they receive at Mid-Valley. And I know you follow their social media content, Joe. How about Mid-Valley? I mean, both their boys and girls track teams are undefeated. Their softball team is in first place. Their baseball team is in first place. Their tennis team is in contention for a postseason berth. I mean, that's just great stuff to see the success that all these schools are having. You look at Dunmore and Riverside in that baseball, Dunmore first, Riverside second. Dunmore having a great year, as we mentioned on the track, winning the Walter Godek Boys Team Championship. And Riverside, Joe, what more do we have to say about the athletes at Riverside, right?
Right.
Now, again, I'm not as familiar with the baseball program as maybe some people are. I know Connor McNally is a member of that team only because I remember him from basketball season, but we're coming off of Nico Antonacci being the Times-Tribune Boys Basketball Player of the Year.
Yep.
He just got offered a scholarship as a freshman to Penn State for crying out.
Joby, to Penn State.
And I know you read the Notebook this week, Joe. How about Tavion Branch, University of Alabama?
Notre Dame right now.
He just posted on his X account this morning or yesterday on Easter that he received a scholarship offer from Notre Dame. He's up to 24 now. And don't forget, Joe, these scholarship offers for these young athletes, they come with NIL money.
Right.
So
right.
So these kids are not only, giving themselves a wonderful opportunity to get a collegiate education, but also, Joe, they're looking about, getting themselves some financial security for their future.
Right. Exactly. It's seriously the athletics in the area is really, really been incredible. It's just, seeing Nico Antonacci as a freshman get an offer to Penn State is just, it's absolutely incredible, Joby.
Yep. It's a great job by him, and it's a commitment he and his family have made to the sport. And again, we're going to be seeing, we're going to be seeing a lot more of outstanding performances here as we get to the tail end of the spring sports season, because it is going to get intense. And I will say this with no conviction whatsoever, Joe. I know I'm a big guy who harps on we have to play the games. I just feel our spring sports talent here is very, very on par with challenging for state titles in those sports and in the individual sports that we'll see moving forward.
Absolutely. It's going to be exciting. I do want to take a minute to look back. Well, we had the news this week. The girls all-state basketball team was released. Addison Kilmer made the first team out of Mountain View. Sophia Talluto, Jenna Hillebrand, and Julia McCullen made the second team. All guests of the show, Joby.
Joe, I think we're going to have a lot of these young athletes wanting to be guests on the Room podcast.
Look, it results in all state. It's it. No, they deserve all the credit. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I was actually surprised to not see Maya Jenkins on here as well, considering the way that she even played all the way down the stretch. She had some great games. I don't know anything about the voting. I don't vote or anything, but I think she's a 2-time All-State member. So I was actually surprised to not see her.
Yeah, unfortunately, Joe, that process is extremely difficult, especially with the talent level across the board in the state.
Right.
I do feel for Maya because she is a 2-time All-State, and take nothing away from the fantastic season she had. There is always a level of disappointment with any of these types of things, and certainly our sympathies go to her in that regard. But she has nothing to be, certainly she has some sure outstanding credentials, and she's going to do quite well for herself. She had a great senior year.
Exactly, and played lights out in the postseason. Got to witness one of those games. But Maya Jenkins was a part of the girls basketball all-region team. We had Scott Walsh's all-region team naming Sophia Talluto Player of the Year out of Dunmore. We had Scranton Prep's Maya Jenkins, Jenna Hillebrand, Addison Kilmer out of Mountain View, Abington Heights' Maggie Coleman, Scranton's Chrissy Jeklinski, Honesdale's Natalie Goldstein, and Old Forge's Julia McCullen with the Coach of the Year, Mountain View's Corey Guessford. Much like your boy basketball region team, Joby. It's just great athletes. I mean, it's an all region team, so obviously, but it's just top athletes.
Great job by all those kids. And Joe, just a quick scheduling note for you, because I know with the announcement of the girls all-state team, we're going to get inundated with requests as to when the boys all-state team will be announced. The projection is early in May.
Right.
It is a very strenuous process, and being a part of it, we're kind of spinning our wheels a little bit here. It's got me a little bit frustrated. So just kind of bear with us. It'll come down, and I'm sure we'll have players on that.
Exactly. Definitely. So we did also I finally released my boys all region wrestling team with Abington Heights' Brian Hurd as the wrestler of the year. I do want to say that this was the most difficult year for me, because I just thought there were so many great wrestlers, and obviously, a 2-man race for that wrestler of the year between Brian Hurd and West Scranton's Michael Turry, who both had absolutely phenomenal seasons. And even picking, it's like you can only stretch the team so far. There's 13 weight classes, so ideally you want to keep it at 13. I stretch it to 16. That's just the credit to the great wrestling that's in the area now, and that has been in the area, and a lot of freshmen on that team. Joby, Nathan Schumann of Honesdale, Abington Heights, Jake Schiavone, oh my goodness, Sam Almedina out of Mid Valley. It's just going to keep getting better and better. It just keeps rising. So congratulations to all my wrestlers. I already can't wait till next season.
Yeah, Joe, you did a great job all year following all the action. And again, our athletes in our area have really elevated themselves, and they've done some great things. Of course, we had a couple of state medal winners as well, and certainly congratulations to them and Brian Hurd, our performer of the year.
Absolutely. Joby, and we mentioned it at the top of the show, but Bob Simons, just a coaching legend in the area, died. I believe it was yesterday, and on Easter. And I only had one opportunity to meet Bob in person. A great guy at last year's Athlete of the Week ceremony. Have talked to him on the phone several times, and he just seemed like he was a great guy. And yeah, it's difficult to put into words. You just feel terrible, Joby. It's terrible.
It's heartbreaking, Joe. And let me just give you a quick story here. Of course, I do the tour around the camps, the football camps. Okay.
Yeah.
And one year, Herb Smith, our former colleague and a dear friend of mine, joined me as we went up to Wallenpaupack. He was taking some headshot photos for us, and we stopped for a little bite to eat at a deli across the street from the school. And Coach Simons and his beloved wife, Anne-Marie Simons, the former athletic director at Wallenpaupack, were there having some lunch. And they couldn't have been more engaging in their conversation, asking us if they were asking if they could do anything for us. And, we were doing a job. We were doing there to cover football practice. And they were just such nice people. And of course, Anne-Marie tragically lost her short battle with cancer last Easter. And now this year, Bob Simons, Hall of Fame golf coach, just a wonderful man, and tragically died on Sunday, I believe, early Sunday morning. And listen, his golf coaching credentials and his golf playing are without comparison.
Right.
But he was an even greater man. And that's the best thing I think that I can say in the very brief encounters that he and I had and were able to share. And my heart goes out to the entire Simons family.
Absolutely. Just briefly, if I may, when speaking about Anne-Marie, it was just speaking to the two of them in general. Obviously the Lackawanna League championships are always at Wallenpaupack, and it's just she just used to run around just constantly at that thing. She was just always moving, just doing whatever anyone needed, and anything that I needed. There was an issue with the Wi-Fi and me signing in, and I swear she spent at least an hour trying to get it fixed for me. And it's just that it speaks to her, and it's like you said, it's tragic. They were really real staples in not only the Wallenpaupack community, but the community at large. Like you said, everything that Bob Simons did is just unmatched, really, but great person. So
you'd be hard pressed to find two nicer people.
Exactly. So Joby, we are coming up on an hour. Is there anything else that I may have missed, or anything that you want to mention before?
Oh, probably, Joe. But let's just quickly point out that Abington Heights beat Scranton Prep in the big tennis match last week.
Yes.
And so Abington Heights now kind of steamrolling its way toward what I think would be expected in a Lackawanna League championship. I've got some volleyball notes going to be in the newspaper and online tomorrow, just to give you an idea of where our teams from the Lackawanna League stand as we get closer to the postseason.
Absolutely. We, even though Abington Heights won that tennis match, there was a big matchup individually, Joby. That match.
Yes. Akalesh Dalaga defeated Pranil Malaha. And listen, those are two of our best players.
Absolutely. So
and they're going to be the favorites to win the district singles championships.
Exactly. So again, all over the place. We've had great matchups in every sport, great individual performances. So that will do it for us here on episode 36 of the Film Room Podcast. Be sure to follow us everywhere, the Times-Tribune.com/sports. Follow Joby's Facebook page, Joby Fawcett, the Times-Tribune, our Facebook and Instagram pages, Times-Tribune Sports, and follow us on Twitter at SportsTT. We'll have another robust week of coverage. Lining up, like I said, there's some two baseball and softball games tomorrow that are pretty big. I believe Sam Freeman's going out to a lacrosse game tonight. So we'll have, like always, we'll have a ton of coverage, and Joby will have a ton of coverage as well. All in 37 and a half hours, though, Joby. So
that's right, Joe.
It's really impressive. So